Howdy, howdy, welcome back to Garage Noise. Today, we're painting this Mustang. We're gonna be doing the wheel openings. We had some peeling paint on the wheel openings. We did a little bit of body work on some of them. They were bent up. We did some rust repair on this door right here. And then we also repaired this quarter panel. It had some cracking filler right on the edge of that wheel opening. We did that all in the last episode. If you want to check that out, check it out. I'll leave a link at the end. Okay, coming over to the left wheel opening here, we've just got some old body work here. I don't know if you can see that, but right here, we just need to sand that smooth. We're gonna cut it off right here and paint just this inner portion, but it needs a little bit of straightening up here. Got some bent metal right here, and then some old body work here. I think we're just gonna clean that up for them now. But a lot of these wheel openings have some peeling paint, so we're gonna correct that as well. So we'll sand that out, get our little handy mini block here with some 80 grit sandpaper, get that all cleaned up. Okay, we got it all bagged up. This Mustang is ready to paint those inner fender wells. And we just decided to go ahead and paint this quarter at the same time, so we masked this off. Ready to be sprayed. Making sure everything looks good. We're gonna spray the dark color on here today, but we'll spray the silver tomorrow. So I'm just gonna base that door with the gunmetal gray. Okay, let's talk about how we prepped out this quarter panel. So the primer we sanded with 320 to block it, and then we went over it with 600. Now all this paint was in good condition, so all we had to do was to sand it with some 800 grit sandpaper. Now you can use 6 or 800. I chose to use 800 on this particular job. We're gonna use the Eastwood LT100, which is also known as the R500. It's just been rebranded under the Eastwood brand. Air pressure, we're gonna set this at about 19 PSI, 19 to 20 PSI. We're gonna dial our fan pattern way down to do these inside of these wheel openings, okay? And we're gonna have our fluid volume 1.5 turns out from closed. So we're gonna turn it all the way in and then 1.5 turns out. I wanna control the amount of paint that's coming out on those wheel openings, okay? So we'll do all the wheel openings first, get those all covered and done, and then we'll go and spray this quarter panel and I'll adjust my gun accordingly. Now this gun is a low volume, low pressure paint gun. It only consumes about 3.5 to 3.9 CFMs of air. So it consumes very little air to operate efficiently. So if you have a small compressor, if you're DIYer doing this out of your home garage, this is a great gun for a small compressor. It produces low overspray and it saves you a ton on materials. One thing I did want to mention, because we're going to be spraying kind of upside down, I want to be able to spray this upside down. So after you put this on the gun, you turn it upside down, you hook up your air pressure, and then you spray. And what it does, it draws all the air out of your sleeve. So now I'll be able to spray upside down and get good coverage. Let's go ahead and spray these wheel openings and then we'll move on to this quarter panel. We got a coat on the wheel opening, but now I'm going to put a coat on this primer surface here. I just want to tack this off, so it's a brand new tack cloth. We'll open it up, let it air out. This is a Crystal Bay tack cloth. They're pretty sticky. A lot of guys don't like the really sticky ones. It can leave residue on the panel if you push too hard, but we're just going to lightly tack it. I like the sticky ones that will pick up the dust, so I don't imagine there's much dust on here, but want to keep it as clean as possible. That's it, just like that. I'm going to go over this a little bit. Put on my Gun Bud Light. This comes in really handy in these areas where you can't see. So let's go ahead and spray a coat on this. After I spray this wheel opening, I'll go ahead and adjust the fan pattern larger so we can cover this just a little bit. Okay, I'm going to open up the fan pattern. I'm going to feather the trigger. I'm going to put a dust coat on first.
The paint I'm using today is the Nason Full Base. Now typically I use Nason XL, which has a lot better coverage than the Full Base. So because of that, I had to put additional coats of paint on to get good coverage. Now, one thing I do want to note is in between your coats, you want to wait 10 minutes before you apply your second coat. Now here I'm starting the blend on the quarter panel, and all you have to do is to blend this is to move away from the panel a few inches and put a light coat over it and blend out into the panel. Now, I'm being very particular on this because I want it to have a really nice transition in the blend. Here I'm taking my light, and it's very important to make sure you get good coverage, especially with a paint that's not covering like I would like. So I check all those wheel openings to make sure they have good coverage on them before we go ahead and clear it. Because this is a metallic finish and I want a really good transition into that old paint, you'll see me take my blend out just a little bit further than I normally would. I'll also use like an X pattern to blend it just so we get a good transition in that base coat. Be careful not to apply too many coats of blend where you're going to get sand piling, which is a roughness in your base coat. You want it to be smooth before you apply your clear coat.
All right, we're mixing up the clear coat. Upol spot panel clear is what we're using. The 4:1 clear, we're going to use a slow hardener. Strain it. So we find the 4:1 mixing ratio right here. We'll put our amount of clear in, and then we'll go to the 1 ratio and put the amount of activator. We're going to do 4 parts of clear. Make sure that's locked on. Okay, we're going to use the aeropro A610. Basically, this is R500, low volume, low pressure paint gun. Very good for low overspray and material savings. I just did a very light coat on the first coat because I'm sure that this has some tire dressing on it or some silicone, and I don't want any fish eyes or reaction. So I just dusted a coat on. We'll come back and put a second coat on after this sets up for 10 minutes.
When you're making your passes, you want to make sure you overlap your previous pass by 80%. You want to have a consistent speed and a consistent distance from the panel at all times. This is going to give you the best results in your clear coat finish. You never want to change directions in the middle of the panel and stop in the middle of the panel. If you have to change directions, turn your wrist a little bit and then make your next pass. You'll see when I'm at the end of my pass, I turn my wrist out and then I go into my next pass.
We're ready to apply the second coat. Take a good look at it here. It's not, looks pretty good. There's a couple little particles of dust. The blend looks good. I hit it right about the same as I did before. We got a little bit of a dry spray right there, so we need to make sure we get everything covered well. Overlap 80%, and we'll slick this out and then we'll paint that tomorrow. Color looks good.
After about 30 minutes, I want to make sure I pull this fine line tape because sometimes that clear coat can bridge over that tape, and then if you let it fully cure, you pull that tape and you can peel clear coat off of your just freshly painted panel. The next day I went ahead and masked off the gunmetal gray so we can spray our silver stripes, and then we'll peel those and we'll go ahead and apply some clear coat. Now, after I get done spraying these stripes and we let it dry, I want to go over it with this tack cloth. So it's going to leave a little bit of a hard edge on those stripes. I let it fully cure, and then I can easily smooth those out just with this tack cloth. I can remove that edge a little bit, and now I can apply 2 coats of the upol clear coat.
Okay, we'll let this dry for about half an hour, then we'll unbag this and we'll start putting this back together, get it ready for the customer, and we'll take a look at the finished product. All right, so we just got the Mustang unbagged. All we need to do is let this cure. Tomorrow we're going to cut and polish a few little things on this. It pretty much matches the texture of the rest of the vehicle, so probably just denib it, wet sand and buff it a little bit. That color's not exact down there, but I think it looks pretty dang close. I cleaned up a couple little things here. We're gonna buff that. This thing will be ready to go.
If you enjoyed this video or found it helpful, leave me a comment down below. To build your skill, click on one of these videos now. I appreciate each and every one of you watching, and we'll see you next time on Garage Noise.